Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beantown Banter podcast.
Hunter on the move, racing back, it's over his head, it's gone, it's into the bullpen, this game is tied, this game is tied!
Rebound loose on the top of the crease, Red Sox score! Bergeron!
Driving forward, diving to the goal line! A touchdown! And a title!
Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
Recording live from Boston, Massachusetts, here are your hosts, Brady Gardner and Patrick Donnelly. And welcome to episode 29 of the Beantown Banter podcast. As always, joined by Patrick Donnelly. I'm Brady Gardner. How we doing, Patrick?
We're excited. We got two guests today.
That's right. It is a big show. We have two guests, and we also have previews of the NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs. We've got the Frozen Four starting up. We've got the Final Four for NCAA basketball finishing up here today. And then we have the Masters at the end of the week to cap it all off. It is a huge week, but we're going to start you off right here, as we often do, with the Boston Bruins. And we're joined by a pretty special guest today. He's a 2018 graduate of Penn State, Boston Bruins reporter for BruinsDaily.com, a production assistant for NBC Sports Boston, and shares a name with a quarterback who made $60 million after starting just 15 games. From joining us from locations unknown, it's Matt Castle. How are we doing today, Matt?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing well. So we've got some questions for you here. So the Bruins starting up their playoff series with the Toronto Maple Leafs on Thursday this week. It's a familiar foe, the Maple Leafs. So just in general, your thoughts on the Leafs and what we can expect from them?
Well, obviously, first off, they're a good team. I mean, they're no slouch. It's going to be a tough series. What you can expect is a team that can score. They're second in the Eastern Conference with 281 goals, so they can certainly put the biscuit in the basket, as they say. I mean, they have a ton of star power. Mitch Marner, John Tavares, Austin Matthews, to name a few, Morgan Riley on the defensive end. But it's going to be a tough out. Like we've been saying all year, the playoff system is kind of screwing the Bruins here a little bit, but it should be an interesting series. Like previous series have shown, this original six matchup, it can go the distance, and I think people are going to be in for a really exciting series.
Well, that's right, and you talk about the history of this matchup. We saw it go 7 games last year with the Bruins getting the best of it, playing at the TD Garden in that 7th game. So just kind of a question to both of you here. Well, how much of a factor do you think that history will be coming into this series this year?
I think it's a pretty big factor, actually. One of my all-time, before I get into it, one of my all-time favorite Bruins-related things was from like the 2013 series when we won 7 games and the Bruins had that crazy comeback.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys haven't had a chance to listen to it, Jack Edwards' call on that goal, that will put some lead in the pencil. That'll get you jacked up.
That's a classic.
You need to hype. I think it's just Jack Edwards' Game 7 call against Toronto. He's narrating like back and forth between Patrice Bergeron, Sagan, Marchand, and then he's like, with the dagger at their throats, they rip it out of Toronto's hands, and they kill the beast.
That's
the
right.
Bruins come back from being 3 down in the 3rd, and he's jacked up, and Andy Brickley is dying in the booth next to him. Regardless, watch that if you haven't had a chance to. But yeah, I think, like you said, the history of these two teams doesn't need any introduction. I could see it going 7 games, but the good thing for Boston, home ice. So if it goes 7 games, you got the Causeway crowd behind them. So we'll see.
Yeah, so I'm glad I'm not the only one who can quote that call word for word.
Oh.
I actually like Bergeron's tying goal much better than the game-winning goal. I think they were going to win no matter what at that point. But, yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the Leafs will definitely have the last 2 series in mind, but ultimately what helps the Bruins in the end is the home ice. And you'll be hard-pressed to see any scenario where they might lose a must-win game on home ice.
Yeah, definitely. So just kind of, looking at this series, they say, so many star names on both sides, but are there any particular names going up against each other that really stand out to you, Matt?
Well, first off, just Pasternak in general against Toronto.
Yeah.
Leaf killer. Guy's dynamite. He just set a new career high with 81 points, but he did it in 16 less games. Like, I was actually really happy about that because the season he's had, he deserved to set a new career high. The guy is unbelievable, and you should expect nothing less in this series. Another matchup that is of utmost importance is Boston's power play against their penalty kill. So first off, Boston's power play is kind of a two-edged sword. First off, they're like lethal. When they get rolling, they're lethal. We've seen Pasternak, even Krejci when he's been on that left circle, they just do like slap shot bombs from the left circle and they score almost like at will. But on the other end, they give up 15 shorthanded goals this year. It's the most in the NHL. So it could go one of two ways for Boston. If they really like clamp down and get the power play firing, they're going to be a tough out. If they, like we saw on, was it Saturday when Tampa Bay scored a shorthanded goal to tie the game?
Yep.
If it goes that route, that would obviously not pay dividends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head there, where we see guys in the PK for the Leafs, especially Kasperi Kapanen, toasted the Bruins last Game 7, where just got Rask out of his pants on the deke there. But you look at the speed in that Leafs lineup, they could really kill you if you get a turnover at the point and they get to get in alone on Rask. But as far as matchups go, I'd like to think that when Mitch Marner and John Tavares, that line is on the ice, you'd like to think that one of Zdeno Chara and Charlie McAvoy would be on the ice at all times.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Another point, too, that we've kind of been looking at, obviously, as the season has come to an end, and we've kind of been able to see where things are going to end up here. You look at the health of the team, and it seems like Bruins are looking all right coming into this. They are without Sean Corrali, still with that injury that kept him out last couple of weeks of the season. But you think coming into these playoffs, staying healthy clearly plays a big role in it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for Boston is staying healthy. I know we're all joking on Twitter over the last two games, like put Carlo in bubble wrap, but honestly, when Boston has all four of its lines healthy and firing, we've seen they're one of the best teams in the NHL, and if they can stay healthy, I think they've got a good shot to make it deep. Getting Sean Corrali back, and I think John Moore is also still out, so Those are the two. I know Bruce Cassidy said they're not planning on playing this week, but they'll be like day-to-day after that, so we'll see. But for right now, they're like 98% healthy, which is the utmost important for Boston. So health is key.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned health and firing in all cylinders. I know Patrick has some thoughts here on Tuukka Rask coming down the stretch. Patrick, going to lead us off?
Oh, no. I was just going to add to that by saying you look at the game against Tampa on March 25th, the 5-4 loss, where that's a complete microcosm of the health issues, where it's not only is it a third period collapse, but it's also dealing with a completely depleted defense where they had 3 guys out on that back end there.
That's a good
point. Yeah, Tuukka Rask, I think he's the guy to get it done. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Tuukka Rask, people have a strong love-hate relationship with Tuukka Rask.
Absolutely.
I know, he's been, not really, that shaky. The Bruins they kind of been already locked into their position over the last couple starts, so I don't really take the Tampa Bay game into consideration. I think he's been awesome this season, actually. Despite a slow start, there was a stretch where Tuukka Rask hadn't lost a game in forever. He had a longer point streak going than the Bruins did when they won 19 in a row.
That's true.
Or whatever it was.
I think it was since Christmas.
You're going to see Tuukka Rask really turn it on, at least I hope, in the postseason here. And if he does, like we've seen, a goalie can make or break a series. He could take over a game, a series, and the Bruins will go as far as Tuukka Rask goes, but hey, here's the thing. Say Tuukka Rask is terrible. Well, guess what? Boston has the luxury of having 2 fire goalies this year, and you have Yaroslav Halak to back them up. So, I mean, I don't expect to see a ton of Halak, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tuukka has a short leash, especially in a tight series against Toronto.
That's right, and I think when it comes to Tuukka, it is really a mental game. I think we've seen it time and time again where, it feels like things start going the opposite direction for him, and it's just a snowball effect a little bit. You hope that Tampa game, yes, it was, kind of an unimportant game, really end of the season. Neither team had anything to play for, but, maybe a couple of goals that he wouldn't have wanted to give up in that one. Maybe get to his head a little bit, get him on his toes, and next thing you know, he's got some more ugly ones going by him. Or maybe it goes the opposite direction. Maybe he's kind of re-energized, he's motivated again, and he's ready to make a strong playoff push that maybe some fans would say that he's kind of lacked throughout his career with the Bruins thus far. But moving a little bit further up the ice here, just taking a look at the Bruins lines, is there anything really that stands out to you? Maybe a guy that should be in there that's not, or a pairing that you'd like to see, something like that?
Well, I'll start it off by saying we'll probably find out more today at practice when Cassidy talks. But I think they can go a number of different directions. With Corrali out, it leaves them a lot of ways they can go. This is what I would do. I'll just run through the lineup, or at least the forwards. I'm keeping the top line together, Marchand, Bergeron, Pasta, and then DeBrusque, Krejci, and then the second line right winger is where you can mess around. Right now I'm putting Carson Coleman there because he's been pretty good. He's got some wheels. I've been saying he's a pit bull on the ice, and he seems really determined. Looked well there. So we're going to put him there to start the series, and we'll see how it goes. And then we're going to do Heinen, Coyle, and Mojo, or Marcus Johansson, on the third line. And then you're going to do Achari, Wagner, and then either Backus or Nordstrom. And I think I'm going to scratch Nordstrom from the lineup just because, I don't know, Backus has more veteran leadership, and Nordstrom is not really moving the needle too much for me as of late. So that would be my lineup.
All right, Patrick, any changes you'd make to that?
No, I agree with that. I like how you put Danton Heinen on the left side on the right wing on the third line there, because it's like the Jake DeBrusque thing earlier this year. He's not comfortable, at least not yet, on that right side. And I think for as long as Sean Corrali's out, Carson Kluman's in the lineup, and then when Sean Corrali comes back, you have a good problem of who has to sit. And I know you made Brady pretty happy saying David Backus should be in there.
Oh, yes.
Brady's an advocate saying David Backus isn't as bad as we've made him out to be.
I love David Backus.
But yeah, nothing.
Plays a role.
Joakim Nordstrom doesn't do much for me other than the speed. He's fine in a pinch, but for the playoffs, I'd rather have David Backus on that fourth line.
There we go. They're coming around, folks.
Hey, here's the thing. When Sean Corrali comes back, I got bad news here. I think David Backus and Nordstrom are going to be scratched in the lineup, depending on how Coleman does, because Coleman he's young. He's literally my age, straight out of college. He doesn't have any playoff experience, and he's only been on the team for 10 games, total?
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I think they're really high on him. I think Bruce Cassidy was saying the other day that he might make him eat his words and have to put him in the lineup. So we'll see. Yeah,
that's right. And you talk about Coleman, how he's come on strong here late. Do you think kind of these younger guys can be able to pull it together and keep it going into the postseason? The guys like Coleman, maybe DeBrusque, who we saw really come on late in the year as well, and also made an impact last season in the playoffs. And then also at the top end of it, do you think the guys like Marchand and Pasternak, who have had kind of career seasons in a way, do you think that they can keep it going here into the playoffs?
I think the top line is the least of Boston's worries. I think they're going to be just fine. And Toronto, for as much as they score goals, they can give them up, and Boston's top line, if they keep intact, will be able to exploit that. Touching on the younger guys, I think Jake DeBrusque is awesome. I think he's been maybe one of my favorite players to watch this season. Just his whole attitude, the way he plays the game, been great. And him and Krejci have been clicking, and he's come on strong since that lull in, I think it was January, early February.
Mm-hmm.
He has been on fire. 27 goals, career high for him. And I talked to him a week or two ago, and he said that if he was scoring during that lull, he would have had way more, and he thinks he should have had more. So for a second-year guy to be disappointed with setting a new career high of 27 goals just tells you all you need to know about DeBrusque. He's super motivated. So I think he's going to be fine. What you need to pay attention to is the younger guys, the first-year people like Connor Clifton if he's in the lineup, Carson Coleman if he's in the lineup. Those guys I would keep an eye on because DeBrusque at least has had playoff experience. These guys are they're young bucks, but I love Connor Clifton. That guy has been throwing around his body like it's it's nothing. It's awesome to watch. He's been decking guys. So, yeah, I think Boston's got a lot of promise all throughout of its lineup, regardless of age and experience. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I think, like you said, the top line, we already mentioned Pastrnak, noted Leafs killer, over a point per game against the Leafs. And you mentioned the Leafs easily allowing goals just as easily as they score them, and I agree with you there. I think we talked about Tuukka Rask, but Freddie Anderson absolutely needs to show up for the Leafs as well. But moving along here to Brady.
Yeah, so the big question really here that we're all waiting for, how far do you think this team can go beyond potentially the Toronto series, or are the Leafs going to have their number this time around? What's your prediction here, Matt?
I'll answer that by saying it depends on how the Tampa series goes, because that pretty much is the Stanley Cup, if we're being honest. I think so. If we're getting into predictions, I think the Bruins beat the Leafs in 6. That's my prediction. We clinch in enemy territory.
You got a celebration from Patrick in the studio here. He likes that pick.
Yeah, so Bruins in 6 against Toronto, and then I think you're going to war against Tampa Bay. I think that if the Bruins win, it's probably going to be in 7. And then if they get by Tampa, great. Who else scares you in the league as much as Tampa Bay? I know San Jose doesn't. They're limping to the finish. Do you trust Calgary? I don't trust Calgary to get out of the West, let alone, I mean, I love Johnny Hockey, but let's be real. And the only other good – I was looking at the bracket. I have to fill out my bracket at some point. There's no one in the West that scares me nearly as much as – I'll tell you who scares me. Washington.
Yep, there it is.
If the Bruins get by Tampa Bay, I'd be more scared of Washington than anyone coming out of the West. So if the Bruins get by Tampa Bay, I think they're winning it all. I'm a little biased, but I think that's the truth. I mean, if they – Toronto, Tampa Bay, Washington are the 3 hardest. Those will be tougher than any team they'll face out West, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've been telling these guys for a couple weeks now, if the Bruins make it past the second round, watch out. Yeah. This could be the year. But
that's right. Well, they say that to be the best, you got to beat the best, and that's what the Bruins are going to come up against really in those first 2 series between the Maple Leafs and then the Lightning. Wow.
Barring they get past the Leafs, we don't want to guarantee it just yet. I wasn't guaranteeing
it, but you never know. So yeah, I think it's going to be a battle throughout, but I'm confident the Bruins are able to do it. And any final thoughts here for us, Matt?
Yeah, I know we just talked about the Bruins potentially winning the Stanley Cup. Listen, they got to take it one round at a time.
Definitely,
absolutely.
It is not going to be a cakewalk. It is going to be an absolute battle against Toronto. Make no mistake about it. The Bruins are a great team, but Toronto is equally as good. For as good as Boston was during that 19-point stretch, Toronto kept pace with Boston. And Boston didn't clinch until 2 games left in the regular season. So this team they're good. Expect a lot out of Toronto, and they're going to be motivated because they've been ousted by Boston 2 Game 7s in a row, or not in a row, but the last 2 matchups they've had. So overall, hey, playoff hockey's back. I'm excited. You guys should be excited. Fans should be excited. It's a great time.
Alrighty, Matt. Well, we thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing your coverage. Is there any self-plugging you'd like to do here?
I guess just follow us, Bruins Daily on Twitter. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Matt_Castle22. And yeah, that's about it.
Alrighty.
All right, thanks so much.
Yes, thanks so much. And, go Bees.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Matt Castle of BruinsDaily.com joining us on the phone before supposedly attending a press conference for Bruins GM Don Sweeney. Patrick,
I don't think they make those things up.
Well, that's a good point. So, Don Sweeney, any questions you would have for Don, just out of curiosity? I got one.
All right, you shoot first.
I want to know how confident he is into those kids, because we heard Matt talk about these young guys that the Bruins have going into the playoffs. There are some guys with limited playoff experience in there that they've kind of relied on down the stretch a little bit, and it looks like are going to be in the lineup, coming into the postseason. So, can they still rely on these guys? And if not, if the production's not there, how quick are they to say, or to pull the plug and say, hey, let's get somebody else in there? How long does Carson Kuhlman last before they say, you know what, Nordstrom, get back in there?
I don't think it's going to be very long at all. We saw last year with Cassidy, no hesitation whatsoever on last year. He hesitated getting Donato in there last year, but no hesitation pulling him out, pulling younger guys out. Like we saw Heinen was scratched for a couple games in that series last year for Brian Giunta of all people.
Oh boy.
And I think really the only guy who is potentially a flight risk is Kuhlman, but the only reason he gives you to doubt him right now is the lack of playoff experience. Because when everyone's healthy, Connor Clifton isn't going to be in the game,
Right.
unless someone gives Bruce Cassidy a reason to scratch them. And if that's anybody, it's probably going to be Matt Grzelcyk or Kevin Miller.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't see how you could scratch either of those guys personally, but we shall
You want
see.
Kevin Miller in the lineup.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You're going to need it.
He's the guy who wouldn't play if Clifton plays.
Right.
Him or Grzelcyk, and Grzelcyk's been too good this year as well.
Alrighty. Well, that's the Bruins playoffs kicking off, getting going. But going into the other side here with the other playoffs beginning, we got the Celtics as well. So we're bringing in our second guest of the day, folks. You may recognize him. He's a student at Boston University and a head writer for Celtics Lead. He's wearing a Celtics sweatshirt right now, and he knows that whether it's a Kyrie Irving game winner or cookies from the dining hall, the best things come in threes.
Wow.
You know him, you love him.
Oh, my God.
It's Ethan Fuller. How are we doing today,
That's
Ethan?
got to be the smoothest intro I've ever
He's been
received.
patiently
So I'm
waiting.
feeling good.
Yes, Ethan's
now.
been waiting here for us,
Yeah,
doing his research, getting ready to go. So Ethan, your Celtics coming down the stretch here and pulled off 3 wins out of 4. How are you feeling about your team right now?
I am feeling pretty much about the same as I have the past couple weeks, honestly, because these last couple games, this game against the Magic last night, there's not really too much you can take away from it besides hoping that Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart aren't injured too badly. So I'm feeling okay about the Celtics, pretty much. I've been tried to keep even keel throughout the last couple weeks because they're just such a roller coaster of a team. So I'm feeling all right now.
Well, that's right, and that's kind of what it's been here, just kind of maintaining your head a little bit here these last weeks of the season, knowing that the playoffs are right around the corner,
Exactly.
and they're going to be able to turn around. They've gone, 5-6 in their last 11, so that's not too convincing.
They're 11-12 since the All-Star break, and since the All-Star break, you've kind of seen all of the best and worst of the Celtics, which is pretty crazy that such a small sample size can give you such an accurate picture of a team, but that's what it's been.
But they closed out strong down the last 7 games. What was your prediction for the last 7? You said 6-1.
I said 6 of the last 8. So yeah, I had them actually losing the Magic, and I had them losing to the Pacers, which they didn't.
But they lost to the Nets.
Yeah, lost to the Nets.
So fulfilled Ethan's promise.
There
I'm
you
looking,
go.
if they win tomorrow.
Oh, that's
then-
right. They still got tomorrow.
Yeah, against a Wizards team that's probably going to tank. So I'm feeling good about that game too.
Agreed.
Alrighty. Yeah, so you mentioned the Wizards game. That one, should not really carry much importance at all because the seedings are just about set. Looks
Yep.
like the Celtics will be taking on the Indiana Pacers in the first round. That's the 4-seed Celtics against the 5-seed Pacers. So looking ahead, that series will probably open up over the weekend here, just before we record the big episode 30 of this podcast. So just looking in anticipation of that series, Ethan, anything that really stands out to you, kind of from a broad perspective?
Yeah, based on these last 2 games against the Pacers, both a win. One came down to the wire. Kyrie showed why he's one of the most clutch players in the league. Love to see that. And then they really took it to him in the most recent game against the Pacers in Indiana. So if I'm looking at the series right now, if the Celtics are locked in for the playoffs, this should be a 5-game series win at most.
Wow.
They could sweep it. But if they're lazy, I don't see the Celtics losing. The Pacers have been cold since the All-Star break. I think they're 9-14. But if the Celtics aren't on their game, it could be 6 games, maybe it's 7, and that just sets you up horribly for the next round.
Any thoughts, Patrick?
I agree. I think the Celtics, like we said, for them to be successful down the stretch, they're not going to – this can't go long. And we know this team for sure has the skill to make light work of the Pacers.
Definitely.
Especially is Oladipo's still out, right?
Oladipo,
Oh, yeah,
he was done for the
well
season.
out for the
Yeah,
season.
absolutely. I was making sure. I saw his name pop up, and I was like, wait, no, he's not here.
He gone.
But yeah, I mean, you look at that Pacers roster compared to the Celtics roster, this should be a 5 to 6 game
But
series.
that's what we've said all year.
Yeah.
We've said, oh, look at the rosters.
Celtics have given us every reason to expect nothing from them.
Exactly. This is this is exactly the type of team that they would lose to in the regular season, where it's like, oh, it's a nothing team. They got no stars. What are they going to do? Oh, they're going to beat you the way the Celtics used to win games like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah,
and team basketball and sneaking up on opponents.
And I was just checking out the advanced stats, and the Pacers, this is an ideal first-round matchup for the Celtics because even the Pacers' strengths and weaknesses are lining up exactly with like what the Celtics need. So the Pacers, they're pretty good at stealing, generating turnovers, but the Celtics also don't turn the ball over that much, which is good. The Pacers are, believe it or not, about the same of a rebounding team as the Celtics, which is good because the Celtics have really struggled to rebound since the All-Star break. And if I'm looking at the Pacers and I'm scouting, there are pretty much 3 players that I want to look at. Bojan Bogdanovic, who's not a star, but he's been great for them. And just watching those games, I got to say, Bogdanovic is probably one of the best off-ball cutters in the league. Like, he knows how to dive through screens and explode off the ball, catch the defender napping. So if I'm Jason Tatum or Gordon Hayward or Jaylen Brown or whoever's guarding Bogdanovic, you got to be 100% aware at all times because he can make some great cuts. And then otherwise, I'm watching the big men tandem of Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis. Turner is a spectacular defensive player. He's actually a lot like Al Horford in that he's smothering on the defensive end, doesn't rebound super well for a big man, but on offense he can stretch the floor. He's not super great in the paint like Al Horford is, but he can spread out to the perimeter and hit his jump shot. So Turner I'm watching. Sabonis is great inside, great post moves, and a good rebounder too, so I'm watching them.
All right, well, somebody that we're watching in the green, Gordon Hayward, has been lighting it up lately. He's been in double-digit point totals since returning from injury in the final week of March. I know Patrick probably wants to take a victory lap here because Gordon Hayward is coming around.
He's back.
He's back, you think?
I think he's back.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you trust him?
I think he can.
Or is this just one of those stretches? That's what you got to wonder.
I think he can.
Because he had similar stretches here.
Well, that's
right around mid-February. He put up a few impressive games, and we were like, okay, here he goes. And then all of a sudden he's dipping back down into 3 to 6 points a game. And it's like, okay, what happened to Gordon Hayward? But is he finally peaking at the right time? You would hope so.
Well, we've seen these stretches over and over again for parts this year, and maybe this is all of it coming together at the right time.
Well, that just sounds too good to be true. But
what say you, the expert?
I'm not going to say he's all the way back yet. He's still pretty inconsistent on his shooting, and his defense is not the same. He's just not as quick. But what I am really liking from Gordon Hayward from what I've watched in games is that he's really starting to be aggressive in the paint now. He's not afraid of those contact layups and those contested jump shots, and he's attacking, which he didn't do for most of the first half of the season. So that's what I've been really impressed with Hayward. And I think he's done this all year actually, but his passing is really solid as a wing player among a Celtics team that has a lot of wing scorers that don't pass the ball that well. He's going to be really helpful off the bench when you have Terry Rozier who doesn't pass the ball that well.
All right. Meanwhile, you look at another guy that the Celtics are going to need here most likely, and it's Jaylen Brown, who's been inactive the last 3 games, and then he was back yesterday against Orlando. Contributed 13 points, so maybe Jaylen Brown is coming right back and picking up steam as well.
Yeah, Brown's looked really solid since the All-Star break, and obviously you want to make sure he's healthy, so I definitely in this last game wouldn't push it with Jaylen Brown, but yeah, he's looked good. Since the All-Star break, wow, he shot 42% from 3. That is exactly what you want to see from Jaylen Brown,
right.
And he's stepped it up because he's definitely probably the biggest concern in his game is his inconsistent shooting. So, yeah, I'm really liking Brown as we're approaching the playoffs.
Yep.
I agree. I mean, you're playing to the biggest Jaylen Brown fan in the room right now.
I know.
That we know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just I'm exhausted on talking. I don't mean like I'm tired of talking to the Celtics right now. Like they've just exhausted me this year because
they have. They're an exhausting team.
But because we've said every it's been like every podcast to this point pretty much like it's the same old story with the Celtics. So until they kind of give us something to prove us otherwise, then it's going to be interesting. But I like to think, I know my dad, who may or may not be listening to the show, is
that's nice.
Always just says they're going to pull it together in the playoffs. And I think you certainly like to hope that.
Yeah. Well, when you have the motivation of, okay, it's win or go home now, maybe that's when it starts coming together and we say, okay, I said this last week.
They actually have pressure now.
Yeah, you say, okay, let's start playing team ball because this is what's going to help us win. Maybe you start listening to Brad Stevens for once. Who knows?
Yeah, because, I mean, you have home court for the first round. Who knows if there probably won't be, but who knows if there's an upset, you might have it for the second round.
Right.
And who knows? I mean,
Miracles
big
exist,
thing.
yeah.
Big thing. You got home court for the first round, like I just said. Wow.
Nice.
So, I mean, really, because they were getting to the playoffs no matter what.
Yeah.
There was no question they weren't going to miss, or they weren't going to make it.
Got it. Yep.
And so they had no pressure on them. Now they actually have pressure.
That's right. And as we say, just looking at one more individual here, you could probably guess who I'm talking about. It all hinges on this one guy known as Uncle Drew, Ankle Taker. And Kyrie Irving.
You've been very hot and cold on Kyrie.
Yeah,
Ankle Taker.
that's what it says here. Basketball Reference. That's one of his nicknames. His middle name is Andrew. Would you know that? There you go. But yeah, Kyrie Irving. He seems like he's been invested again as of late. Put up 23 points in that loss to Orlando last night. So maybe he's investing just at the right time.
Well, when wasn't he invested?
Okay.
When this whole fiasco was going on, he was still dropping 20 a game.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than just the points, I guess. It's the leadership, and of course, it's tricky to ask leadership of someone who's 26 years old. But you're a guy who's got one of the most, some of the most experience, especially in big games on the team. You're by far the best player on the team. You got to step up, and maybe he's going to do that right now. He certainly needs to.
I feel like it's been tough because Kyrie's greatest criticism this entire year has been what he's done off the court with like media interviews and quotes and stuff, because he's this is the best year of his career that he's putting together right now. He's passing the ball better than he ever has. He's rebounding the ball. He's like one of the better rebounders on the team, which he shouldn't have to do. He is putting together his best defensive season ever. People are actually respecting him as a defender. He's actually like a pretty decent defender in the NBA now. Mm-hmm. And
oh my God, I'm getting a death stare.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I said to you like 3 months ago.
Yes. Okay, calm down.
And it's like,
especially the defense point.
I know.
Yeah, people are getting after Kyrie because it's fair. He hasn't been the best team leader and motivator, but
this is scary.
On the court, he's as good as he's ever been.
That's a frightening face, folks. Holy. Wow. All right. So
Ethan took the words out of my mouth, or
yes.
I took the words out of Ethan's mouth 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Or however many months ago it was.
Okay. So let's say the Celtics get through. Let's say they're fine against the Pacers and they're able to knock off that team that on paper is far worse than they are. So then
should be, yeah.
You're against Milwaukee. Does the confidence change?
Yeah, and
That's an obvious question.
I'll be completely honest right now. I don't see the Celtics winning that series because
No.
Milwaukee is.
I'm the optimist now.
Milwaukee's a very deep roster that we didn't really expect. All of their kind of fringe young rotation players that they had at the back of their lineup have really kind of sprouted and done well this season. And Giannis has a 50-50 shot at being the MVP. So it stinks for the Celtics because you're going from LeBron kind of dominating the East to potentially Giannis doing it now. But that's what I see. Like, Giannis can take over games like no other player in the league can. I watched when they played the Sixers. Giannis he just went in the post against Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler, who are two of the best on-ball defenders in the league, and he just murdered them and dunked on both of them. Right. And it was crazy. Like, this guy, in my short life of watching basketball, I've never seen someone just like go straight at a guy and dominate like Giannis does.
That's right. I don't know. Maybe it's the green teamer in me coming out here, but I like to think if you're able to get through the Pacers in 5 games, let's say, and things are clicking for you, and you get some momentum, you get the players bought in, you're like, okay, maybe we can do this. Maybe Milwaukee gets cold feet a little bit coming back into the Garden where they lost in 7 games last season, and maybe you're able to sneak one out there.
Yeah, and I think hopefully disposing of the Pacers in 5 games is really going to help the Celtics, because then like Milwaukee should sweep the Pistons.
Oh, yeah.
And so hopefully the Celtics, you want that same level of rest, and you definitely don't want to go in tired because you've dealt with a couple of different injuries this season.
The Pistons the only team in the NBA playoffs with a losing record.
Yeah, and they might not even they haven't even clinched the playoffs yet. It could be the Pistons, it could be
That's right.
Could be the Heat, could be the Hornets. Like, their Bucks are going to have it easy in the first round. So if the Celtics want to pull this off, Kyrie has to dominate his matchup. And Eric Bledsoe's gotten a lot better for the Bucks. This isn't the Eric Bledsoe that Terry Rozier tore apart last season.
That we made shirts out of.
Yeah. This is.
And we wore Drew Bledsoe jerseys for.
That's right.
This is not. This is a really solid Eric Bledsoe. He's become a great defender. So Kyrie's got to be on his game.
Definitely.
And just put up 30 points a game, match Giannis shot for shot. And it's going to be if we get there, it'll be a really exciting series, but I'm definitely more nervous about that than probably I've ever been for the Bucks.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but I'm just kind of wrapping up Celtics thoughts here. Patrick, any closing comments?
I don't want them to give me a reason to be disappointed. I have every.
Have they not already?
Well, no, we have every reason to be disappointed in them. But you know what? Come Sunday or whenever the playoffs start, it'll be a fresh slate, as it always is. But obviously, fresh slate. I mean, the NBA playoffs is pretty much scripted every year. That's my hot take.
It's a hot take. Okay.
But it's going to be Golden State versus any comer out of the East.
I don't know if that's scripted. Golden State's just the best team ever.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not the guy who's oh, Golden State, they're the worst thing for basketball. No, I like Golden State. I'm a big KD guy.
Interesting.
Come to Boston, please.
Okay.
No, I think the Celtics should have. This is the hinging factor on every Celtics point every year, or this year. They should make light work of the Pacers, and then we'll see where they go from there.
If they lose in the second round, are you disappointed to the Bucks? Just because of preseason expectations and everything?
I'd say the same.
Because if we see them, if they pull it together against the Pacers, and we get all excited, and we're right, they pulled it together, and long story short, they didn't really pull it together. Because for us, the expectations we have, pulling it together is at least the conference finals.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess my final point that I really wanted, I got excited about the Celtics again recently because they made a starting lineup change. Great starting lineup change that they should have done months ago although I guess he's been hurt, is sticking Aaron Baines next to Al Horford. It works every time when they do it, and Baines gets a lot of rebounds. He's probably the best rebounder on the team. He's suddenly become a sniper from downtown. He can shoot threes as well as Al Horford can, which is weird, but it helps the team. So I'm on the Aaron Baines hype train, and I think that pairing him and Horford is probably one of the best things they could have done for that starting lineup.
Yep. Alrighty.
I agree.
Well, thank you for joining us, Ethan, and we'll see how the Celtics can start their postseason over this weekend, and then we'll be back on the next podcast to get into the series as it's going on. So, thanks for joining us, and if you'd like to stick around for some of the rest of the podcast, feel free to do so.
Yeah, what you got coming up?
Well, you're going through the Red Sox, and then we got the Patriots. We've got the Frozen Four with NCAA hockey. We've got the NCAA championship with men's basketball later tonight.
Antonio Brown drama.
That's right, and then we have the Masters. So, there you go.
I can contribute on.
Yes.
Probably don't know too much about the Frozen Four and Masters.
That's all right. Nobody does.
That's right.
And Masters will get me too, but yeah.
Just pick Tiger. You'll be fine.
Okay.
Sounds good to me. But yeah, I can contribute on the other stuff too if you'd like.
All right, so let's get into it here with the Red Sox. And again, oh boy, not pretty.
Big yikes.
Yeah, big yikes.
Big yikes.
The Sox have been reeling. Last week we came at you saying, "Oh, what happened? They're 1-4 in their first 4 games out in Seattle, and it's only got worse, folks. They are now 3 and what is this? This is
3-8.
3-8. Oh boy,
not ideal.
Not ideal for the defending world champions to have the worst record in baseball, at least as of yesterday. Not good. But
not good at all.
There's reason to be optimistic, I would say.
And why is that?
So you looked at 2 teams, and I heard the stat might have been on Nesson or something, but there were 2 teams start going into yesterday's games that had not played a home game yet this year. The Chicago Cubs, Boston Red Sox. Both of those teams only had 2 wins.
Exactly.
So something about starting the season away from home just does not bode well. You can only use so many excuses for the start that this team has had. You know, literally the starts from the pitchers.
Yeah.
Not pretty.
Just once, I would like a quality start. I mean, we got it yesterday.
Hector Velasquez with 3 innings.
Out of nowhere, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the starting pitching has really been the story. They've been struggling, and Sox have been playing from behind really throughout this first week and a half of the season. But maybe you can have some hope that when they get back home here tomorrow, they can finally get back to their winning ways.
You certainly hope so. Maybe the ring ceremony gets them hyped up, or whatever day they decide to bring the Patriots in, whether it's
going to be opening day.
Is it really?
It was confirmed, yeah.
Oh, man, I was really banking on it being Thursday when we were there.
Yeah, that would have been.
Ooh, that would have been nice.
That would have been awesome.
There Thursday.
Quick plug, I'll also be a game, too.
Wow.
No. But, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, this is just superficial looking at the box scores. But, I mean, I know the second game of the season when they won in Seattle, that was late game comeback. So they've had awful starts. The offense hasn't shown up to start the game.
Yep.
And then it's too little too late. But we also see losses like the 1-0 to Oakland, or wins like 1-0 last night, where like the offense just doesn't show up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when your offense does show up, the other team's offense shows up too. You lose 15-8 or 10-8, as we've seen between the Diamondbacks and Mariners. And then, you get in these pitchers' duels, and you can only support like one run for a pitcher that's actually finally having a decent start. Just nothing really going right with the Sox, but they're treading water, or at least trying not to dig too deep a hole in the AL East. I believe the Rays are still leading. So look out for that Tampa team. They're
Rays have been hot. They're looking really solid.
That's right.
But
this
is kind of what we said going into the season, where your starting pitching on paper is really good, and your bullpen is nothing to write home about. That's putting it lightly. And we talked about this, like, this team's probably going to have to win a lot of high-scoring games, and so far they haven't been able to do that. But then again, you also see, 12 runs allowed, 15, 10. Those are some ridiculously high-scoring games. I was more imagining like 7-5 wins, 4-3. But this is kind of what we said.
Yep. Well, if there's reason to be positive, it definitely helps that they are playing the Toronto Blue Jays and then Baltimore Orioles at home over the next week. They've got 2 games with the Jays, both coming off of a day off, which is good because they don't have games here tonight or on Wednesday. So they've got the Tuesday, Thursday against the Blue Jays, and then they take on the Baltimore Orioles Friday through Monday. So if there's any time for the Sox to get some wins, get the fans back behind them, this would be it.
The Blue Jays have been pretty much the same story as the Red Sox so far, too.
Okay, yeah, but they're expected to do that.
Blue Jays don't have the upside.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's right.
I think
it'll be harsh, but it's right.
I think it'll be a good confidence builder for the Red Sox just to get. They should win most of those games at home, and hopefully, being in Fenway Park, having the crowd on your side gets like Eduardo Nunez, who's off to a horrible start. Hopefully, he can get some hits in. Rafael Devers hasn't been great. Hopefully, he gets going. And Mookie Betts, like, the offense is struggling, but it should just be a slow start. Like, these are all players that a lot of them you expect to be consistent, like Mookie Betts, and Mitch Moreland's usually a better hitter more consistent hitter than he is. So I'm not too worried about the offense.
Mitch Moreland has been the clutchest player on this team so far.
Right. He's the only reason you won two of these games.
He didn't get his third home run until like April 21st last year. He's got his third home run on April 7th.
Yeah.
And now this is April 8th, but yesterday, April 7th. And one was to tie, one was go ahead, the other one was go ahead.
Yeah. He's the only reason they've won these games.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, but.
Well, the tying one, they ended up losing.
That's a good point. So.
And yesterday was a nice win because Velazquez had a good. I guess it was a start, but he pitched 3 innings, so you're relying on your bullpen after that, and they didn't give up a run, so that's got to give you a boost.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we'll hope the Sox can turn it around here. As we say, it is still early. It's a long season, but it certainly is not easy when you're playing from 8-10 games behind, so let's hope that they don't end up any deeper in the hole.
And you're starting every game 7-0.
That's right. That is not helpful.
Spot them 7 in the first inning.
Put a 7 on board. That's right. So let's move along here to the New England Patriots as we try to keep things going with a jam-packed podcast today. Really no news at all coming out of the Pats. We're in the dead of the offseason. Haven't had the draft yet.
It's a barren wasteland.
That's right. I think some kind of off-season programs start very soon. So who knows? Maybe we'll have some news. Some people showing up, some people not. I don't know. But they do have Patriots Hall of Fame voting going on here this week. So this shows you how kind of dire the content is right now. But are there any Patriots that you think, former Patriots, they have to have retired as of 2015, I believe it is. Any former Patriots that you'd like to see in the Pats Hall of Fame.
Is Deion Branch in the Hall of Fame yet?
Don't think so.
He's got to be in the Hall of Fame. He's like the only other Patriot aside from Tom Brady that's won a Super Bowl MVP. Branch has got to be in the, obviously not an NFL Hall of Famer, but he's got to be in the Patriots Hall of Fame.
So do they do a ballot, or do we just need a
Just names.
pick? Okay.
I think it's just 3 names. I was looking this up. You need some time to think?
Yeah, I need some time to think.
All right, I
you
had
can go ahead.
I had a bit of an interesting one. Bill Parcells.
Why not put him on the map?
Yeah. Well, what do I mean put him on the map? Oh, he put the Patriots on the map.
put them on the map.
I thought you said put him. I was like, what?
No, put them on the map.
Exactly. He put the Patriots on the map. Yes, he had some times with Robert Kraft there, about the cooking in the kitchen and not getting the ingredients and that whole thing. The groceries, yeah.
Classic quote. We've heard it enough.
That's right. But he did put the team on the map. He did bring them to a Super Bowl that they lost, and he ultimately set up Bill Belichick coming to New England, kind of indirectly, but it happened.
That's true.
I think he deserves a little bit more credit. It wasn't pretty the way he left, but I think he did have quite a time while he was here.
He should deserve credit. I don't see it happening just because it would just be so awkward. Like it would just be generally like kind of weird for that entire ceremony.
That's a good point.
But it could be that Bill Parcells is the same as like Randy Moss. Does Randy Moss get in the Patriots Hall of Fame? Because when he was with the Patriots, he's probably the best receiver the Patriots have ever had. Maybe, I guess you can make an argument for Edelman, but Randy Moss was amazing on the Patriots, but obviously he didn't play for them for a long time. The situation with him leaving is weird. So, yeah, I feel like it'd be the same kind of situation with Randy Moss as Bill Parcells.
You have one yet, Patrick?
Well, I mean, this is kind of shocking he's not in there, but Richard Seymour's been waiting forever.
That's a good one.
Wow. Yeah. They also say Mike Vrabel could be one.
Yeah, I thought he was already in there. I was going to say that, and I didn't.
That's another big one. So.
Rodney Harrison.
Yeah.
Is Wes Welker in?
No. Wow. Look at all these names.
Wow. Yeah.
Although, would he be able to stand in front of the crowd?
Okay.
In the lights.
Wow.
Brutal.
It'd be at night inside, the spotlights on him. He needs sunglasses.
He probably would. Also, I don't know. Was he retired in 2015? I don't think so. Yeah.
I feel like it was around that time.
I don't know.
Well, he was with the Broncos when they won that Super Bowl, right?
And then he went to didn't he go to like the Rams?
Or he might have been with the Rams at that point.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, Randy Moss, or not Randy Moss, Wes Welker went on this whole odyssey after the Patriots. That part's unknown, like we said, Matt. But yeah, I think Vrabel, Seymour, Rodney Harrison are all viable candidates. More than viable candidates.
All right. Well, there you go. There's your Patriots minute. Did you have something to add, Ethan?
Not really.
Okay. Looked like you were pulling something up. Never mind.
No.
I mean, because we weren't really alive for the peaks of these guys, so we can't really speak too much on it.
Alive, cognizant.
Or cognizant. That's what I meant. Well, yeah, we were clearly alive, but cognizant.
Correct. But there you go. So there's some Pat stuff for you Pats fans out there. Anyway, moving along, some national news, and we'll go to college basketball first with the Final Four finishing up tonight as Virginia will be taking on Texas Tech. It's been a good run here for the Cavaliers. They were knocked out by the 16 seed last year and then bounced back, and now they're here in the championship. I don't know so much about the Texas Tech Red Raiders other than Patrick Mahomes went there, and so I automatically don't like them.
Oh.
Any thoughts, folks?
I just
what do you mean, oh?
Why don't you like Patrick Mahomes?
So many reasons.
Just because he's an enemy of the Pats?
Oh my God, he's an enemy of the Pats. He's so arrogant with the oh, look at me, I'm gonna throw my left hand. I'm gonna throw it out.
Dude, that's cool.
It's not like he doesn't complete
How are you
the
not impressed by that?
He's gonna throw a pick six one of these days on one of that, and it's gonna be like, oh, is that on ESPN?
Well,
no.
Speaking of pick sixes, did you see at the Jets jersey unveil where Sam Darnold just kind of like floated a football out to the crowd, and someone edited it and had the interception from his first career pass
oh my
catch the ball.
What do you think of those Jets jerseys?
Awful.
So sidetracked. You don't like them?
Awful.
I thought they were all right. They're better than what they had.
Really?
Yeah.
I kind of liked what they had.
Really?
Yeah.
Ethan?
They're okay. They're a little bit. They feel a little bit amateurish.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's true.
I think they could have done better.
They could have done better. I don't think they're the worst jerseys in the league. But
Yeah.
No,
Awful is strong, but you know that's the job in radio.
Okay, pal. He's off to a good start, yeah.
But yeah, I think it certainly could be better. As Ethan said, clearly amateur. It looks like they just threw them together on Photoshop.
Yeah, it's they. I mean, they look. Maybe it was the lighting in their like promo shot, but it kind of looked like a Friday Night Lights style, like intense high school.
I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah.
That's what the kids want.
No.
Catering to the audience.
Be professional.
Okay, fine.
Well, not like professional, like no fun, but like a professional, like this is a pro jersey.
Correct. Okay, anyway. Hey, college basketball. Yeah.
Well back.
We're back.
So what do you guys think for tonight's championship game, Texas Tech and Virginia?
So if you want kind of a lowdown on Texas Tech, these teams are actually pretty similar because they're both relying on their defense. Texas Tech's defense has been spectacular in this tournament, and Virginia's done a pretty good job too. If you're looking at Texas Tech, Jarrett Culver is a sophomore. He's kind of the engine of the team. He's one of the top draft selections for upcoming NBA draft. Like, he's looking like a top 5 prospect easily. So watch Jarrett Culver. He's looking really good. He's a wing. He's, I think, 6'6", maybe 6'7". Really smooth. He can attack the rim. When he's on, he can hit jump shots. He goes through cold streaks. Like, he played Michigan State and he had a cold streak. So I'm watching Jarrett Culver. Mooney on Texas Tech, he went off against Michigan State, so keep an eye on him. I'm actually going to pick Texas Tech in this one.
Ooh.
I think
Wow, he just convinced himself right there.
Yeah. The teams are similar, so I was kind of on the fence, and I mean, they're kind of both surprises to be this far. I feel like Virginia was slept on as a number 1 seed, but
After last year, yeah, definitely.
yeah. So
But I had Virginia in the Final Four, but
Oh, a little brag, huh?
I had them losing to UNC though
Ah.
in the Final Four, and UNC obviously didn't make it to the Final Four.
Well,
No.
I didn't have a single team in the Final Four, so you beat me.
I had both of these teams actually were the only 2 teams I got, but I didn't have either of them in the finals. So
Alrighty.
Pretty
Well,
impressed.
just for the story, personally, I'm going to go with Virginia. You come back from, you're back-to-back 1 seed. You lost in your first game last year. You come back, win the championship. What a story it would be. So there you go.
It would be cool. I
That's
know.
who I'm pulling for. At least.
This is first Final Fours, I think, ever for both teams. So
Wow.
pretty cool that they're both here. Virginia's a great team. They have Kyle Guy, who has been kind of the hero for the Cavaliers. They also have a top prospect, DeAndre Hunter, who's, I believe I think he's a junior, and he's a wing. He hasn't had a great tournament, but I'd keep an eye on him. So yeah, I picked Texas Tech, but Virginia's not a bad pick at all. They're a 1 seed. So
All right. Patrick, any thoughts?
I checked out after my bracket went to crap.
Cool.
But I'd like to think Virginia would win. Because I didn't think Texas Tech would get anywhere this far. I mean, you could see Virginia, but Texas Tech, I had them losing quickly.
Yeah.
And I just want it to be a good game. I mean, that's like the worst thing to say, or the least expert thing to say. But I just want it to be a quality game because we have people saying does this tournament need redemption or something like that?
That'd be cool.
Because the Elite Eight was good. The Elite Eight was fantastic,
Mhm.
and then everything else kind of been ho hum.
Yeah.
yeah,
Just throughout.
and like that Virginia Auburn game, the fouling at the end. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but
That was a foul.
no, but the double dribble part before.
I didn't
there
see that.
there were a bunch of crazy calls that went on that are controversial, but
That was definitely a foul, by the way.
yeah, but there were
Okay,
also
good.
there were also a bunch of no calls that
Just checking.
people missed, and so that kind of happened. That hurts the reputation, but I feel like it's been a decent tournament. I think people were just after last year was the crazy Cinderella runs like Loyola, Chicago, and then you have UMBC upsetting Virginia. I feel like
The Retrievers,
yeah,
the best mascot in the entire world.
Wow, the good boy.
I feel like you can't that's hard to top in terms of upsets and
It
chaos, and this tournament wasn't going to live up to that.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, speaking of tournaments, the Frozen Four begins this weekend. It has been a while since college hockey. It's been 2 weeks. Patrick has a thought right off the
Go
bat.
UMass.
You want UMass?
I have UMass.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
I have 3 of the 4 Frozen Four teams.
I only had UMass, but I had them going to the championship against Northeastern, who were knocked out in the first round. So that's not good.
Northeastern hasn't won Northeastern and
Yeah.
St. Cloud. They haven't won a tournament game in 38 years. Or
That's
Northeastern
not
for
good.
sure is 37
35, I
years.
think.
35.
I think so. So you've got Denver and Massachusetts, and then you have Providence and Minnesota Duluth. Those are your 2 matchups, both taking place on the 11th. What is that, Friday? No, Thursday, right?
Yes.
Thursday.
And then the game is Saturday.
Championship game Saturday night. So you've got 2 Hockey East teams in here, which is kind of cool. Providence making a bit of a shock run.
Yeah, if you're Providence, it's Saturday morning practices in April are always nice, especially when you weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But I think the Cinderella story is going to come to an end. Minnesota Duluth is just so good. Shout out Carson Kuhlman. captained them last year to the Natty.
Did not know that.
I only say it like every time I bring them up.
That's a good point. Denver has some.
Denver
history.
knows what it takes to win. They didn't.
Correct.
They repeated a couple years ago.
Couldn't tell you.
It might have been a repeat, but they've won twice recently.
I know that. But it's UMass's year.
I think it is UMass's
Coming
year.
from the basement all the way up to the national championship.
I think if there's a Cinderella story that's going to continue, it's UMass. They're too good.
So Cale Makar wins the national championship on Saturday, joins the Abs for Game 2 on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine? Would he go right in?
Yeah.
Really?
He'd be on the roster. I don't know if he'd play. It'd probably be like the Sagan thing where like he didn't play.
Could you do an extra skater in the NHL? What a dumb question.
No, you could. So they could dress 11 forwards instead of 12 and dress 7 defensemen.
Huh. How often is that done?
It's not completely out of the ordinary
in
the playoffs, but it's not as common as it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But there are some teams that still do that.
Because that'd be a good way to test him out, I feel like. If you just had him in as an extra skater, kind of like, all right, you get a couple shifts a period, we'll see what you do. Instead of like, hey, we need you on a D pair consistently.
All right, so say they take like a 2-0, 3-1 lead in the series, then they would do that.
Interesting. If they're playing with their backs against the wall, they stick with what they have?
Yes.
Really? They don't look for reinforcements with the best player in college hockey?
I mean, maybe it's something to try and shake things up, but it might be the same case as like Donato last year. Where we're like, why isn't he playing? Mm-hmm. And I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
It all depends.
Alrighty. Well,
as vanilla as that is.
Yeah. I do think it is UMass's year.
Absolutely.
I think they've rolled through. They did have a hiccup there in the Hockey East Championships, or semifinals it was, yeah.
They were checked out. They didn't need to.
They didn't care. So now they're finally invested here because this is what you play for. You're going for the national championship, and I think they're going to get it done this Saturday. Anyway, you had some Antonio Brown drama you wanted to touch on. Go for it.
Well, I mean, he's firing back and forth with Steelers fans on Twitter, and he took shots at Juju Smith-Schuster.
I saw the Juju.
What else would you expect though from this guy?
I mean, it's moot at this point. Like, what's the point of this? We were done. We moved on.
Yeah, I think he figures he got his paycheck and he's just, having some fun. Off season, he's bored. Pull the phone out, call out some fans.
I thought everyone loved Juju too. I thought he was a well-liked guy. I thought all the fans liked him too.
Oh no, the fans love him.
Yeah.
Didn't they have a falling out though, Brown and Smith-Schuster?
I'm sure they did.
Because he wanted to become the one wide receiver, and Brown was like, "Nah, it's me," and then it was just,
Huh.
Well, I mean, because AB came on Twitter and said Juju fumbled the entire postseason away.
That's right.
That's what that was.
Yeah.
Because someone said, "Oh, like you weren't even the team MVP, Juju was," and he's like, "He fumbled the entire postseason away, and also check the list. Look how many times I've been team MVP."
Jeez. Interesting.
And he's like, and then he's also told some guys he's like, just get my Raider jersey already.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, this is the news in the NFL offseason.
It really is.
Before the draft, because that's when everything picks back up again.
Yeah, and I just checked that. That's April 25th. So we got a solid, 3 weeks?
Yeah, another two to three more shows.
Can't wait.
No Patriots.
Hopefully, there's like a draft preview in there somewhere. Maybe.
Oh well, yeah, we'll get that in.
Yeah.
There. Yeah.
So here's something to get
we'll
too
watch
excited
highlights on people we've never heard of, and then we'll come and say opinions on them.
And then watch them pick up a lacrosse player.
Yes, Matt Lacoste.
Yeah.
Is it Matt? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it is. All right. Well, something more short term to get you excited about. The Masters are here. Patrick's wearing the green shirt, almost like the green jacket. No. Okay, cool.
Maybe.
So, yep, they'll be taken to Augusta National this weekend. Patrick, are you ready for it?
Oh, I'm so ready.
He is so ready.
So this could easily be the greatest week in sports.
Yeah.
Tonight we have the National Championship.
Right. Yeah.
Saturday we have National Championship Part 2.
Yep.
Thursday Frozen 4 starts.
Master starts on
Thursday Master starts. Wednesday NHL playoffs start. And then Sunday, I mean, we're going to just do like a calendar week here.
Yeah.
Sunday NBA playoffs start.
Tuesday there's some Champions League games for those soccer fans out there.
That's good.
Yeah.
Best week in all of sports.
Stacked, yeah.
Oh.
Or not all. Best week of the year so far.
Depends what sports you like, but yeah, I would say
it's a good one.
For the overall fan.
It's a good one.
I feel like it's a good one.
And for meaningful games.
It's true.
As far as like meaningful and intensity.
Right. Yeah. You're just missing baseball and football, which are kind of two big ones, but yes.
Well, I mean, that's
checks off a lot of boxes.
By default, baseball and football are in there because it's April baseball and football isn't playing.
Correct. Alrighty. So, Masters setup. I know you put together a preview for WTBU. So you want to lead us through kind of what to know here going into the Masters?
Yeah, it's not up there yet, but when it gets up there, check out my Masters preview on WTBU Sports. But they've made some changes to the course, which I don't completely agree with.
Well, it's just longer, right?
Yeah, they're making it longer
because people can drive too far.
Yeah, but at what point is it too long? And we see this is a completely argument outside of Augusta, but you're gonna make all these classic courses obsolete because they're too short.
What? Because they're too long?
The courses are too short and the players hit it too long.
So you have to either adapt or they'll skip right over.
So this is a whole argument of dialing back the golf ball, or whatever needs to be done. Either make those courses longer, which Augusta is doing. They're buying up properties around it. They bought an entire shopping plaza.
Really?
Yeah, and
there's a shopping plaza just sitting next to Augusta.
Well,
that's pretty funny.
Like through the woods, but
exactly. Like right on the property. That's funny. Okay.
Most notable change is the 5th hole, which was 455 yards last year.
Yeah.
Which is already a pretty long par 4 to begin with.
Very.
And now they have dialed it back about 40 yards, so it's going to be 495, 500-ish. We have visitors outside again, but we have the studio until 11. It's 10:39, so don't get in the way of my Masters preview.
Everybody's getting shade.
So what that's going to do is there's fairway bunkers along the left side there, and they've also brought back the bunkers in the same distance.
Right.
So now that makes that tee shot, if you want to carry the bunkers, that's 313 yards uphill to carry the bunkers. So uphill roughly translates to, depending on how severe the slope is, anywhere from 325 to 350.
Physics.
So good luck. That's the translation.
Not going to happen.
Good luck. But other than that, place to look out for, obviously we have from the 11th to 13th holes, Amen Corner.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the Lockdown 18, the Azaleas, anything, the Pine Straw, which we just call pine needles, any normal person would.
We're getting the whole agricultural breakdown now.
But anyways, who to watch? Let's get into the field.
I actually wanted to say something about the course.
Okay.
They just had the women's amateurs there.
Yeah.
This weekend.
Yeah.
Why?
Why not? It's no different than having practice rounds. Players got there yesterday to have practice rounds.
Well, now, so they had a whole tournament. Now they have practice rounds, and then they have the tournament.
Well,
how much can it really hold? Like,
what do you mean?
I mean, they say it's a carpet. It's perfect. Like, it's the best place to play in the world. Except for it's had so much use. Is it really that good now?
It was only, I believe the women's tournament only played Saturday there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they played the first 2 rounds at some other course on the property.
Oh.
And then they had some ceremonial round there on Friday as well, and then Saturday the championship round was there. Not crazy use.
No.
Which is kind of cheap. You're kind of cheaping out the amateurs, the women amateurs.
Let them do it after. Why does it have to be before? Are you trying to generate hype?
I think it's scheduling hype.
Weird.
I don't know.
I just want to make sure it's in the best condition.
Speaking of practice rounds, Tiger arrived yesterday.
Yeah.
He was the last one out there.
For the practice round?
Last night at dusk.
Yeah.
Last one on the chipping green. Last one out there.
Oh. Ooh.
Last one out. Oh man. So looking at the field, Rory McIlroy is the betting favorite after having won the Players Championship. He's now 8-1 odds. He hasn't finished worse than 9th in any of his starts this year, which is pretty impressive considering he's at like 7 starts now on the year.
Right.
And the Masters is the one that's gotten away. That's the only one he needs.
So you think he can get it this year?
Certainly seems primed to. The career Grand Slam.
Feels like we've been saying that, though.
But we've also said it with Spieth, and maybe we fall into the same thing with Spieth because he just needs the PGA now.
Huh.
But anyways, I digress. We talked about Dustin Johnson on the way in here. Ethan was talking about on First Take how I don't remember his name, but said
Dan Orlovsky.
Dan Orlovsky said Dustin Johnson might be the best athlete on the planet.
No,
he's the best golf. He is the best golfer on the planet. He's ranked number 1.
Why?
Because he wins on demand.
So is he gonna win here?
He wins as he pleases. He could.
Interesting.
But
we'll see.
I mean, the only thing we can really hit on DJ is he can win on demand. This week could be on demand.
Yeah.
I mean, any week we expect him to be in contention.
And he's one of the long drivers in the field, so maybe those extended tee boxes will help him out.
Yeah. I mean, Rory and Dustin, Brooks Koepka.
Yeah.
We see Jason Day. I mean, those changes could affect them because they'll step up to that tee and they'll have an actual choice to make now.
Right.
Do I bomb it or do I play it safe and take my lumps and get out of there?
Right.
But now we will hit the big hitter.
The big one.
The big cat.
Patrick's got a putter in his pants just thinking about this.
Tiger Woods. Oh, my God. Tiger Woods. I don't know what else to say other than that. I think we talked about this last week where this year it feels like he has a legitimate chance at all 4 venues.
Yeah.
Brady's really proud of himself for that.
I thought that was a really good one.
He has a chance at all 4 venues, and he told Barstool back in November he feels most comfortable, most confident at Augusta.
Yeah.
So that certainly bodes well. And he had a good run at the Players, which we like to consider the 5th major, before a quad on 17, obviously. And then he was great at the World Golf Championship match play 2 weeks ago, which silver lining, didn't have to play all that extra golf, all those 36 holes. He did, which is really annoying because for him to get it done this week, it's going to be driving and putting. We know the ball striking with the irons is going to be okay. He's the best ball striker to ever walk the earth.
Wow.
That's not up for debate.
Okay, sorry.
Best iron player to ever play.
I apologize.
I'm sorry. But we got the juices flowing here. We got the golf juices. You guys are just taking a back seat. I can tell.
Yes. Go ahead.
Ethan's like, golf. Yeah.
I love
mini golf.
Actually,
my favorite.
the one random golfer that I've always really liked. I don't know if he still even plays golf.
Brant
but-
Snedeker.
No,
Dang
Louis
Louis Oosthuizen?
Yes.
Yes, he plays.
500
Does
foot
he still
drive.
play?
Still
Is
there.
he still like competitive?
Yeah.
He's still there.
He
He's
won
still
the
in
Masters
mix.
once, right?
He's
He
always
did win the Masters.
he's been
Over-
my
I believe.
Over who? There was someone like notable, and then this Louis Oosthuizen guy, and then he won it.
It might have been Rory.
I think it was.
I think it was.
All right, you talk. I'm
I'm
Google.
rooting for him.
But yeah, this certainly everything's adding up to make a good week for Tiger. It's just a matter of if he can actually drive the golf ball this week, which was his downfall at the Players, and the PGA last year, and if he can actually putt, which has been his downfall for most of the comeback so far, after he got over the chipping yips and then finally was able to drive the golf ball. But moving along, there's not many others. I mean, obviously Jordan Spieth is going to be in the mix. Ricky Fowler, we've been waiting forever for him to win his first major. He was in the mix last year. He's been in the mix before. A couple top 20s, couple top 10s. And he was second, or he wasn't second last year, but he was pretty close. We'll see. We will see. And obviously you want to say Brooks, you have to mention Brooks Koepka. He's won three of the last five majors. Or three majors in the last 2 years. That is no small feat at all.
Yeah.
But you guys have any thoughts?
Well, for some reason I'm seeing that Oosthuizen did not win, but he came up second to Bubba Watson in 2012.
That's who it was.
So he lost to him?
Yeah.
I thought he won. All right, whatever. My thought, you ask. I got to get some more educated on golf before I invest $40 in a pool for sure. But that being said, I'd like to think Tiger could do it.
I think he can.
I think everybody hopes that he can, just because it'll make it that much more exciting.
But I think
Sunday.
he actually can.
He actually,
I think
it's not just like a pipe dream. It's like...
No, I think because last year at the Masters, we're like, all right, like this was like, last year at the Masters, we're a couple months into the comeback, we're like, all right, it's just good that he's here. It's just good to have him here.
Right.
And then last year at the U.S. Open, we're like, all right, don't get embarrassed. And he did get embarrassed. He missed the cut. And then he was in legitimate contention in the PGA and the Open.
Yeah.
So that gives me optimism.
Here's a question for you. Any chance Patrick Reed can replicate?
I don't think so.
No. Yeah, I mean,
his swing, his game is in turmoil right now.
You hate him, so.
I am not a Patrick Reed guy.
Correct.
But yeah, his game is maybe the lowest point of his career right now, and he didn't ditch his old swing coach, but he also brought in David Ledbetter, I believe who is a pretty famous swing coach. So that's a little interesting.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he was aware. Well, We're not going to speculate, but I don't think he
Interesting.
can. I don't think his game isn't where it needs to be for him to be able to repeat.
Right.
Maybe he pulls it together. We can see it happen where guys just it clicks,
Yeah.
but I don't think he can do it.
All right.
Same thing with Sergio. Sergio's been pretty bad since he won the Masters.
Okay. I'll give you a name here. I think Jason Day is going to be in contention. That's a very obvious pick, but that's just a name I'm going to throw out. Just looking at the field.
Well, I add him on my list. His odds are he's 30-1 odds.
Okay. That's something, right?
It's something.
Good.
It's certainly you could win big money there. Or
Good.
relatively big money compared to the other guys I have here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's the bomber too, so it's going to come down to the choices he has to make off the tee.
Right.
Augusta, you can't be spraying it around. You can't get away with slices and hooks off the tee, like because that's been his downfall at the last few U.S. Opens. So he's going to have to bring the consistency.
Well, we shall see, but I think we've had a pretty comprehensive look at just about all of sports.
Yeah,
How long are we at?
We got an hour 10. Wow,
Hour
that
10.
flew by.
It did. So we
Last look at it, it was 37.
wow. So yeah,
Dang.
we had a new record, 2 guests in one show. Thanks again for joining us, Ethan.
Thanks for having me. Always great to be on.
Yes, and
You got any plugs, Ethan?
not again.
I mean, I don't have any new plugs. Should I just replug myself?
Sure.
Okay.
Coming down the stretch here, maybe some
So-
Celtics coverage people are looking for.
True. If you want great coverage of the Celtics playoffs, I'm probably going to be running at Celtics Lead Twitter for every game, live tweeting or at least doing like quarterly updates. So check that out. That's
Yes.
a great follow. My personal Twitter is at ETHMan43. I don't tweet that much, but I'll put like random NBA takes on there usually or some other sports takes if I'm feeling adventurous for the day. So
Nice.
you can check those out. Yeah, that's about it for what I'm doing right now. So yeah.
All right, Patrick, any thoughts to close us out?
You could follow me and Brady on Twitter.
Oh my
I'm
God.
at PatDon12. Brady is at Brady D. Gardner.
Thanks.
And as always, you can follow WTBU Sports on Twitter at WTBU Sports.
Boom.
You can check this out on Brady's YouTube, Brady GTV.
Wow. Everything.
We
all the
plugs
plugs.
galore.
We'll be at the Red Sox Sports and Entertainment Career Fair.
Yeah, I got an
That's
email
right.
for information about that just now. I'll forward it to you too.
Please do.
We got the game on that Thursday night,
Yep.
and I got game 2 on Saturday.
Oh, really? You're going to game 2? I haven't heard yet.
Oh, I'm so pumped.
I know he
They
is.
came out with the schedule, and the game is for 8 o'clock, and I don't know why, but I'm so much more excited for it to be 8 o'clock.
Is it a national
that is
game?
like
It's
prime.
it's
ti-
national
prime time.
Canada. It's gonna be hockey. It's hockey night in Canada.
Hockey not in Canada, eh?
And
They're-
that's
they're-
British.
Sorry. I should just not
You
do
can't do
impressions.
the accents on the air.
Sorry. I'm
Um,
sorry.
But yeah, it's gonna be NBC, Hockey Night in Canada, TSN,
Wow.
CBC, whatever it is.
Exciting. Well, what a
Hype.
week it will be in sports. Any sport you're interested in, except for football or baseball, really. There will be drama.
Well, the Red Sox home opener. That's big. The ring
that
ceremony.
is big, actually.
At least, yeah. at
And
least
then
baseball's
Thursday night
playing.
we'll get replica rings if we're in the number that gets into the park first, whatever it is,
We will be.
2,500. Oh, we're gonna be. There's no way we're not getting a ring.
Okay, it's going to be like a foam
I
thing.
want
by
my
the way.
ring.
I don't. That's gonna be plastic, and I don't care because it's gonna look cool.
Okay, pal. Anyway, that will do it. Thank you so much for sticking with us here for the last, hour 15 minutes of your
Hour
lives.
12.
That is
Hour
unbelievable.
12. And
Yeah, you got your
33
money's
seconds.
worth.
It is a new record, but it has been
You got your money's
enjoyable.
worth for the free show.
That's right. So thank you guys so much for joining us here today. See you next week.